Hey, this is Notser, and this is a Tier 10 German battleship, Großer Kurfürst. She has 12 420mm guns, 28 secondary guns, 96 AA defense rating, a surface detect of 15.9 kilometers top speed, 30 knots, total health 105,800. For my modules, reduced crit chance on main armament, improved aiming accuracy, improved rate of fire, reduce the chance of flood and fire, reduce the time fires and floods stick, concealment. For my commander, basic survivability, basic firing training, expert marksman, vigilance, and advanced firing training. We're on the map, two brothers, and I'm sure plenty of you are curious, why did you choose certain skills and certain modules? Let's just go for the skills first because it's pretty straightforward. I don't have enough to unlock in level 5. If I did have enough to unlock a level 5, I would get concealment. I know. Isn't this the manual secondary? Manual secondaries really do require a certain playstyle in order to benefit fully. And this is a very large ship. Very large. If any torpedo comes your way, you will take at least one, if not two, even in the best situation. Torpedo bombers, good luck missing out on those, okay? You just have to hope, and I mean hope, that aircraft carriers don't want to go after you. That's the first thing. So concealment, obviously, will protect you. And for me, personally, I see more attention on average than a normal player, right? I mean, I think that's a fair statement to say. When I'm visible, players will probably err on the side of firing at me over another target that is equally visible. So concealment protects me and my fun in this game. Now the range is pretty garbage, and I'll explore that later, but that's another aspect of this. It doesn't really give you a lot of leeway between the range of your ship and the dark zone that is by default associated with the ship without concealment modules or concealment skill. I try and engage the Des Moines, and yes, that was Red Sea Bear, the same Red Sea Bear that almost got a solo warrior. Yes, I know, it's pretty funny that he died in half a second at the beginning of the match, and for it to be worthy of being shared is also a huge issue, but the Des Moines turning into our shots were able to fire over and do pretty good damage. 15,000 overall to this guy. He's also on fire. Don't think I'll have a chance to fire over the island now. I think I'm too far gone. Just do a quick check. Yep, icon definitely shows up whenever I try and set up what a normal shot would be on him. And he does indeed die. So, that's the first thing. Pick up concealment if you can get to concealment. I prefer it over manual secondary, at least for me. Now, if you don't get any attention at all, manual secondary might work better for you. If you have an escort team, it might work better for you, but the ship is so large, it's already going to be spotted pretty much first, and you want to try and minimize that. It's very easy to hit, light up. You don't want that. That's why I also got the reduced time that floods and fires stay on the ship, because you will be flooding and you will be on fire more often than not in this ship. I would also swap out vigilance for superintendent, and the reason I say that is because you have two skills, not one, but two skills that would really benefit from an extra charge. The heal ability and hydroacoustic. Both of those really do prefer to have as many charges as you possibly can, and hydroacoustic is fantastic on the German battleship line. It really does come into play quite often, and you should make use of it in the most reasonable sense. If there's a destroyer close by and we do 22,000 points of damage to the Tirpitz, he's not the real prize though. I wanted the Des Moines, and I felt like the Des Moines read the situation and turned away before I had a line of sight shot. I'm taking fire from enemies over by their base, and I don't appreciate that at all. We're reloaded. So that's the reason I chose those skills. Everything else, obviously, basic survivability, expert marksman, you get the idea. You fire again on the Tirpitz. He has some angle. I basically fire directly at a ship, 12,000. I read the situation that he was stopping, or coming to a complete stop, and I didn't need to lead him. How did you know that? I looked at the minimap, and I just figured the last thing he would want to do is to continue forward towards my ship. Now, I see the Des Moines. He is making a mistake here. The island is not quite as large as it used to be. So, we fire at the waterline in a broadside manner, and hopefully, yes indeed, 22,000 points of damage. 6 minutes have gone by. We've already done 72,000 points of damage. Not bad, right? Not bad at all. And I can't say that the situations were difficult, but recognizing them and firing in the right location will obviously work out in your favor. With the 420mm guns, I am using the 420mm guns. The only thing that you benefit from using the 406 is the rate of fire. You lose a little bit of health, damage per shot, sorry. It's about 300 to 500, but you can't penetrate as often as you would like against an angled target. Now, maybe 1 or 2 degrees is going to be the difference between you penetrating and you not. At least of my understanding, I could be completely wrong, feeding you a bunch of bull, but it does feel like the 420 does a little bit more damage on average against a target that really shouldn't be taking damage. Or if they are, it just feels like the gun performs a little bit better. I mean, it's not much, right? You gain a little bit more penetrating factor, a little bit more damage per shot, and I do mean a little bit more, very tiny. But you give up probably 2 seconds on the reload to the 406. They're completely valid. That's the only thing that changes. So you really need to decide, is this for me? I like the 420. I prefer the 420, but 406 do just as valid. It's more about playing the ship correctly than what type of caliber you're using. That's been at least my experience with it. So, let's get to the modules as we're doing damage to the turrets. Yes, 9,500 points of damage. Ooh, he's just making every mistake. He's out in the open. Why am I not going to exploit it? Now, I will be greedy and go after any cruiser that shows his side, because I can indeed penetrate him. Versus the German battleships, they are just a little bit more resilient, right? Makes sense. We try and lead him. We just a little bit too high, just a hair. And I try and follow it up. I do have a fire on my ship, but I'm just going to let it burn. And what the? Torpedoes? Enemy Benson. He went all the way around me, and I basically ran him into the edge. He couldn't run anymore, and I have hydroacoustic, Benson. You're too close. I can see you plain as day. You can't do this in an Iowa, or a Yamato, or an Izumo, or a Montana. No, no, no. I can see you just as easy as if you weren't using the smoke at all, so it's almost wasted. Now, not everyone knows that late-tier German battleships have hydroacoustic, but once you figure it out, you're never going to make that mistake ever again, right? And we are just doing massive damage to him. This should be the kill shot. If it's not, no, it's not. This should be it. The up-and-coming reload on my back 2 guns, and no, of course not. And you could tell I was frustrated. I turned that camera so fast. I was very angry because I did 98% of the damage on that target. He was clearly not getting away, and the ally fired just in time to take the kill. It's whatever. You know, these things happen. I've done it as well. But, oh man, it was so blatant. It wasn't like I was firing well in advance and someone came in with lots of damage. You know, he was very low for a very long time, and then he fired. It was just annoying. It's whatever. I'm just angry at stuff like that. So let's get back to the module discussion. Obviously, main armament protection, nobody's going to argue that. I also have accuracy, and most people won't argue that. But some would say, just go all secondaries. That's what the German battleship is. And I would say that your first priority is making sure your main battery is as powerful as it possibly can be. That is how the game is balanced. Secondary damage is more of a bonus than you really want it to be, some of you. Some of you want there to be a valid secondary build, but that removes a lot of skill required in aiming, deciding when to fire, that sort of thing. And I believe firmly in your main armament skills, whether that be your torpedo systems or your main battery. You need to be good at that first and foremost. So we made them accurate. I also decided against range increase for rate of fire, because I find myself most of the time trying to get close to a target. Now this enemy Des Moines, he's right on top of us, almost showing a perfect broadside. I felt like this was a great shot. It was a little too high for the Citadel, but we did do like 20,000 points of damage. We did a ton of damage to the enemy in that shot, and the greed is real. I felt like, we're so close. I could have gone so much damage, but I don't want to get too close. We got 2 ships, not 1, but 2 ships that have torpedoes. So I decided to transition against the enemy Mogami. Notice he doesn't fire until right now. That's a good tell that he has indeed sent his torpedoes. Wow, that was a terrible dispersion. Only hit him with 2 shells, and it was a little bit too far forward on the ship, so we need to adjust it. And I'm going full speed. I'm committed to outrunning the torpedoes, and you can absolutely do this against ship-launched torpedoes. But a good pilot, a good aircraft commander is going to light you up so hard. Your AA is pretty good, but it's not that good against a tier 10. Unfortunately, the Mogami is behind the island, so I just fire on the enemy Tirpitz, and we get 24,000 points of damage. It feels good to be this bad, right? I mean, you're putting out so much damage, and we're basically holding a flank, or at least attempting to. This isn't a situation where people are ignoring us. We are reading the situation, taking out targets that are important to deny them the ability to do damage to us. Now, I don't think I need all my guns. I'm going to fire the front 2 sets, and I think that's just fine. That is perfect. We honestly could get by with 1, but you don't want to be too greedy at times. I could have been a little bit more greedy, but I'm just playing a little bit safer. And maybe I shouldn't have, because the team is not as close as I would like. We have a ship advantage. We should clearly win this then, if they fight in a reasonable manner. Oh, 10,000. I love it. The rate of fire feels great. The turret traverse is really quick. I think by default, and we take out the enemy Tirpitz, I think by default, the Große Kurfürst has something like 24, 28 second turret traverse. Just insane on a battleship. It feels amazing. So getting that rate of fire up is going to just increase your DPS. You're not really going to notice the turret traversing that much. It's a win-win. I really like this build. I've tried multiple builds, and this is the one that really made me feel like, you know what? This is a really strong battleship. The only thing I want, concealment. I do have the concealment module. Target acquisition just isn't as good as it should be. Denying information to your opponent is way more important than a little bit more range on detectability. Plus you have hydroacoustic, which for anyone who doesn't know, it acts basically as the range extension that you would have in close proximity to your opponent. I believe with target acquisition it's like 3.5 if a ship is behind an island or something. Well, guess what? I could just use hydroacoustic, and that'll also show torpedoes in the water. It's going to deny smoke, all that stuff. It's great. I could invest in a premium hydro, but I'm trying to save some money, okay? It's really expensive to run tier 10, and getting enough footage and finding a video worthy of being shared was very expensive. You're not going to want to run this a lot. I would recommend the Bismarck if you want a German ship to play a lot. The tier 10s, the tier 9s, they're fun, but they're just so expensive. So the enemy Des Moines shows up. He's pretty neutral. He has an understanding of what he's supposed to do. I would hope so as a tier 10. I'm just trying to get a kill. Look at the team. Look at the score. It's really, really bad. I've had to do so much work on this flank, holding off a lot of opponents, and the only way I've been able to do that is denying them the ability to push forward. He shows way too much of his side. We citadel him for 16,000. We earn high caliber, and look at the damage. We've done a great job on our flank. It's been one or 2 versus 4, roughly, and we've won. I mean, I can't do anything else. I am allowing you guys on the western flank to fight with an advantage. And that's really what the tier 10 battleships can do. They can put out the DPS, they can tank damage, and this is the epitome of a battleship that tanks damage. Now, you're not immune to damage. Don't be stupid and run into a 1v4. You don't do that, okay? You're still going to die really quick. But in a 1v1 scenario, you should have an advantage in a close proximity to your opponent, as long as they don't have torpedoes. Torpedoes will rebalance any engagement with a battleship, and it'll especially rebalance the engagement with a großer Kurfürst. It is just too big to avoid those torpedoes. Now, I'm just trying to get an angle on the Montana, and I'm firing on him, of course. I want to get the kill. We need a kill in order to give us a chance to win, and we just didn't fire with enough accuracy or time left in the match. Either way, you should be proud if you ever have a game like this. You held a flank. You stopped the enemy from really pushing forward. You did a great job in the scenario. Don't be upset. We earned Arsonist, High Caliber, Dreadnought, 1,849 base XP, 3 kills, over 219,000 points of damage done. Just an awesome number. Really did a great job, and honestly, I'm really liking this ship. I really like the build, focusing on protecting yourself. The rudder is already pretty quick by default. It's right around where the other ships are with their rudder shift improvement for the Japanese and the American battleships, so you don't really feel like you're missing it. The extra protection from flooding and fire is welcomed because it's a large ship. I hope the game was fun to watch. I really enjoyed playing it. That destroyer really caught me off guard. It's why it swung so fast. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you next time.